Welcome back to our channel where we dive deep into the most dramatic and emotional stories behind reality TV's biggest stars. Today we're uncovering the untold saga of Jenny Slatten and Sumit Singh, the couple from 90 Day Fiancé whose love story captured millions of hearts worldwide, but ended in heartbreak, betrayal, and courtroom battles. Yes, you heard that right. Jenny Slatten and her husband Sumit Singh were trapped in family conflict for a long time. Sumit's parents never fully accepted Jenny. They wanted him to marry a younger Indian woman, start a proper family, have children, and continue the bloodline. Hearing this again and again broke Jenny emotionally. She wanted an independent life. Sumit wanted to protect his family's traditions. Jenny said she didn't want to live under anyone's control. Sumit said it was their culture and that they must take care of their parents. Because of this clash and constant family drama, they decided to separate. In the end, their 4-year relationship ended because of family pressure. On October 18th, their divorce was finalized in court. After that, Sumit hoped to build a new life. Wanting to follow his parents' wishes, he married an Indian woman. But the story did not end there. Jenny later filed a case against Sumit in court. She claimed that he had borrowed $50,000 from her and never paid it back. The court investigated the claim and found that Jenny's allegation was true. As a result, Sumit was ordered to pay a $50,000 penalty. This is not just a story of love and betrayal. It is about culture versus independence, family versus freedom, and the painful choices that define our lives. Now, let's take you through every chapter of Jenny and Sumit's journey, from romance to courtroom battles. Jenny was a woman searching for companionship, someone who could bring joy into her later years. Living in California, she had experienced heartbreak before. When she met Sumit online, something felt different. He was charming, attentive, and much younger than her. But age did not matter to Jenny. What mattered was their connection. They talked late into the night. Jenny felt alive again, like a teenager falling in love for the first time. Sumit was also drawn to her. He admired her honesty, warmth, and courage. Their online romance grew deeper. Soon, Jenny decided to take a leap of faith. She packed her bags and flew to India to build a life with him. Friends and family warned her. They said he was too young and that his parents would never accept her. But Jenny believed love was stronger than fear. When she arrived in India, everything felt new and overwhelming. The busy streets, the traditions, and the strong family expectations were very different from her life in America. Still, she was ready to adapt. She believed love could overcome any difference. Sumit introduced Jenny to his world, but he was nervous. He knew his parents would not approve. In Indian culture, marriage is not just about two people. It is about families, traditions, and responsibilities. Jenny stood for freedom and personal choice. But, to his parents, she also represented a break from tradition. Even so, Jenny and Sumit continued their relationship. They shared laughter, meals, and dreams of a future together. Jenny believed she had found her forever partner. Sumit promised to stand by her and fight for their love. But beneath the surface, problems were growing. Sumit's parents made their feelings clear. They wanted grandchildren and a continuation of the family name. Jenny, already past childbearing age, could not give them that. To them, she was not the right wife for their son. Jenny tried to win them over with kindness, but their resistance only grew stronger. The pressure increased, and so did the tension in their marriage. When Jenny first entered Sumit's family home, she stepped into a world shaped by centuries of tradition. In India, marriage is often seen as a bond between families, not just individuals. For Sumit's parents, their son's marriage should have been a proud moment. Instead, they felt disappointment and fear of social judgment. Jenny saw love as something personal. She had left her country to be with Sumit. She believed their bond was strong enough to survive criticism. But she soon realized that family expectations carried heavy weight in his culture. Sumit felt torn between two worlds. On one side was Jenny, the woman he loved, who wanted independence and respect. On the other side were his parents, who reminded him daily of his duties as a son. They said he must care for them and continue the family line. Their words stayed in his mind, pulling him in different directions. At family gatherings, relatives asked painful questions about children and their age difference. Sumit tried to protect Jenny, but she could feel the disapproval around her. She cooked traditional meals, wore traditional clothes, and even tried to learn Hindi to show respect. Still, nothing changed. The hardest moments came when relatives questioned her directly. She smiled politely, but inside she felt hurt. She knew she could never give them grandchildren. In their eyes, that made her incomplete. Sumit stood beside her, but sometimes he stayed silent. That silence hurt her the most. At night, Jenny cried quietly. She had left everything behind for love. Instead of acceptance, she found rejection. She felt broken and unwanted, but she did not give up easily. She told herself she was fighting not only for love, but for dignity and respect. However, the more she tried, the stronger the resistance became. Sumit's parents did not change their minds. Their disapproval slowly damaged the foundation of Jenny and Sumit's marriage. What began as a beautiful love story slowly turned into a painful struggle. For Sumit Singh, life became a battlefield of emotions. He loved Jenny, but he also loved his parents. Choosing one felt like betraying the other. Every day, he faced pressure from both sides. And with each passing moment, the weight of that choice became harder to carry. On one side stood Jenny, the woman he had chosen, the partner who loved him without conditions. On the other side stood his parents, the protectors of tradition, reminding him every day of his duty as a son. Sumit's heart was divided. He loved Jenny deeply. She was his confidant, his companion, the person who made him feel alive. With her, he could laugh freely, dream boldly, and imagine a life built on love instead of obligation. But when he looked into his parents' eyes, he saw disappointment. To them, Jenny was not a wife. She was a mistake, a symbol of rebellion against everything they believed in. The pressure never stopped. His parents would sit him down and remind him of his responsibilities. A son must care for his parents. A son must continue the family name. A son must give grandchildren. Their words echoed in his mind, drowning out his own wishes. Sumit tried to balance both worlds. At night, he reassured Jenny that he loved her and promised he would never leave her. But during the day, he tried to calm his parents, bending to their demands and proving he was still a good son. Living this double life exhausted him. Jenny could see his struggle. She noticed the hesitation in his eyes and the silence when his parents criticized her. She wanted him to stand firmly by her side. She understood the weight of his culture, but his lack of clear support hurt her deeply. Sumit's torn heart became the center of their problems. He was trapped between modern love and traditional duty. Every choice felt like betrayal. If he chose Jenny, he betrayed his parents. If he chose his parents, he betrayed Jenny. Sometimes he wondered if love was enough. Could he go against centuries of tradition for one relationship? Could he face the shame his parents felt and the judgment of society? Or was it easier to follow the path chosen for him, even if it meant breaking Jenny's heart? The tension between Jenny and Sumit's parents grew stronger over the years until it finally exploded. What began as quiet disapproval became open confrontation. His parents stopped hiding their feelings. They wanted him to choose, and they wanted an answer immediately. One evening, during a heated family discussion, Sumit's father spoke firmly. He said Sumit must decide. Either leave Jenny or leave the family. The words were sharp and final. Jenny sat quietly, her heart racing, while Sumit stared at the floor, unable to speak. His mother continued, reminding him of family honor and the shame they felt in their community. She spoke about the gossip from relatives and neighbors. She questioned his future, the lack of children, and the age difference. The message was clear. If Sumit stayed with Jenny, he would lose his parents' support and blessing. If he left Jenny, he would break the heart of the woman who had given up everything for him. Jenny felt crushed. She knew acceptance was difficult, but she never thought it would come to this. To her, love meant freedom and choosing happiness without fear. Now her presence was treated like a crime. Sumit's silence said everything. He did not defend her. He did not argue with his parents. He just sat there, frozen by fear and guilt. In that moment, Jenny felt alone. That ultimatum changed everything. Jenny began to see clearly that even though Sumit loved her, he was tied to tradition. He wanted to protect her, but he also wanted to protect his family's honor. And in a situation where both could not survive together, someone had to lose. The weight of that night stayed with them. Jenny cried herself to sleep, wondering if she had wasted years chasing a dream that could never work. Sumit struggled with guilt, knowing any decision would cause pain. Their story was no longer just about love. It became a fight between independence and tradition, between personal happiness and cultural duty. And deep down, both of them knew their relationship was close to breaking. Jenny had fought for years to prove her love and loyalty. But the constant rejection, the repeated ultimatums, and Sumit's silence slowly wore her down. What began as a hopeful journey became a daily struggle. She had left her home in America, her family, and her comfort to build a life in India. Instead of acceptance, she found criticism and control. Every day reminded her that she was an outsider. The emotional pain was overwhelming. She often stayed quiet, hiding her tears. She told close friends that she felt broken. One night, with a trembling voice, she said she did not want to live under anyone's control. It was not just a complaint. It was a cry for freedom. Sumit tried to comfort her with words of love, but fear controlled his actions. He could not fully stand against his parents. His hesitation became Jenny's deepest wound. She needed strength from him, but she saw a man divided. After another painful confrontation with his parents, Jenny reached her limit. She realized she could not keep fighting a battle with no end. She looked at Sumit and saw not just the man she loved, but a man tied tightly to tradition. Her dream of living freely with him felt impossible. Slowly, she stopped trying to win approval. She stopped believing that love could fix everything. She accepted the painful truth that their relationship was falling apart. The collapse was not sudden. It was built from years of rejection, silence, and broken promises. When it finally happened, it marked the beginning of the end. Jenny's tears were no longer only about sadness. They were about surrender. For her, the breaking point was not only losing love, it was losing herself. For Sumit, it was the moment he realized his inability to choose had cost him the woman who once believed in him completely. By the time October 18th arrived, their love story had already been damaged by years of conflict. What once felt magical had become painful. The final chapter of their marriage was written inside a courtroom. Jenny walked into the courthouse with heavy steps. Her heart was broken, but she carried quiet strength. She had fought for love and sacrificed everything. Now she faced the end of a relationship she once thought would last forever. Sumit entered the courtroom with his parents beside him. Their presence was firm and silent, a reminder of everything that had stood between him and Jenny for years. He avoided looking directly at her. The weight of the moment was too heavy. The room felt cold, not because of the air, but because of what it represented. This was not just a legal process. It was the final confirmation that their love had failed. Jenny stood on one side, calm but emotionally drained. She had cried enough tears before this day. Now there was only acceptance. Across the room stood the man she once crossed oceans for, the man she believed would choose her no matter what. But life had taken a different path. When the judge finalized the divorce, it was quick and formal. A few words, a few signatures, and 4 years of love were reduced to paperwork. The sound of the gavel felt louder than it should have. It marked the official end of their marriage. Jenny closed her eyes for a brief moment. Sumit remained still, his expression unreadable. Walking out of the courthouse, they did not speak to each other. There were no dramatic goodbyes, no final embrace, just silence. The kind of silence that comes when everything that needed to be said had already been said in tears and arguments long before that day. In the weeks that followed, Sumit tried to move forward. His parents believed this was a second chance for him to correct his mistake. They encouraged him to start over, to rebuild his life in a way that honored tradition. Slowly, he began to follow the path they had always wanted for him. Eventually, Sumit married an Indian woman chosen with his family's approval. The wedding was traditional, filled with rituals, blessings, and relatives who finally smiled with pride. His parents felt relief. To them, Balance had been restored. Their son was back on the right path. But even in celebration, there were quiet moments when Sumit felt a shadow from his past. Moving forward did not erase memories. It did not erase the nights he spent promising Jenny forever. It did not erase the sacrifices she made. Starting a new chapter did not mean the previous one had never existed. Jenny, on the other hand, returned to her life carrying deep emotional scars. She tried to rebuild herself piece by piece. For a long time, she questioned her choices. She wondered if she had ignored too many warning signs. She wondered if love had blinded her to reality. But the pain did not end with the divorce. Not long after, Jenny made a serious decision. She filed a case in court claiming that Sumit had borrowed $50,000 from her during their relationship and had never paid it back. To her, this was not just about money. It was about accountability. She had supported him financially during difficult times. She believed he would honor his promise to repay her. When he did not, she felt betrayed again. The court began an investigation. Financial records were reviewed. Conversations and agreements were examined. It was another painful chapter for both of them, reopening wounds that had barely begun to heal. For Sumit, the legal case added pressure to a life that was already complicated. For Jenny, it was about standing up for herself. She had lost love, she had lost years, and she refused to lose her dignity as well. After reviewing the evidence, the court ruled in Jenny's favor. It was determined that the money had indeed been borrowed and not repaid. The judge ordered Sumit to pay the full $50,000. The decision brought mixed emotions. Jenny felt validated, but not victorious. Winning the case did not bring back her marriage. It did not erase the heartbreak. It simply closed another unfinished chapter. Sumit accepted the ruling quietly. By then, he had learned that actions have consequences. The court's decision was final. He now had financial responsibility in addition to emotional history. Their story became more than just a relationship that failed. It became a public example of how love can struggle under the weight of culture, family pressure, and unresolved conflict. People debated who was right and who was wrong. Some believed Sumit should have fought harder for his wife. Others believed he could not turn his back on his parents and traditions. But the truth was more complicated than simple blame. Jenny wanted freedom, independence, and a partner who would stand firmly beside her. Sumit wanted love, but he also wanted acceptance from his family. Neither of them were villains. They were two people raised in different worlds, trying to build one life together without fully understanding the cost. In the end, love alone was not enough to bridge the gap between expectation and desire. Tradition carried power, so did personal freedom. And when those two forces collided, something had to break. For Jenny, the experience changed her deeply. She learned that love should not require losing yourself. She learned that sacrifice without mutual strength leads to imbalance. Though her heart had been broken, she slowly found pieces of herself again. For Sumit, the journey was a lesson in choice. He learned that avoiding decisions can be more damaging than making them. His silence, meant to keep peace, ended up creating greater pain. By trying to protect everyone, he lost someone important. Their story remains a powerful reminder that relationships do not exist in isolation. They are shaped by culture, family, history, and personal courage. When two people from different worlds come together, love can be beautiful, but it can also face challenges that are bigger than feelings alone. In the end, Jenny and Sumit walked separate paths. The romance that once felt unstoppable ended in a courtroom. The promises whispered in the dark were replaced by legal documents and financial settlements. But their story still speaks to millions. It asks difficult questions. How much should someone sacrifice for love? How far should tradition control personal happiness? And when forced to choose, what truly matters most? Sometimes, love is not destroyed by a lack of feeling. Sometimes, it is slowly worn down by pressure, silence, and fear. Jenny and Sumit's journey shows that even the strongest connection can crumble when two hearts are pulled in opposite directions. And so their chapter closed, not with celebration, but with lessons. Lessons about culture and independence, about loyalty and courage, about the painful reality that love, no matter how deep, does not always conquer all. Even after the court ruling and the final payment order, the emotional impact of everything they had lived through did not disappear overnight. Life moved forward, but healing was slow. Jenny returned to a quieter routine. Friends noticed she was more reserved than before. The woman who once crossed continents for love now moved more carefully. She spent time reflecting on the years she had given to the relationship. There were moments she smiled at old memories, remembering the laughter and the excitement of a new romance. But there were also moments when regret surfaced. She realized that love had made her brave, but it had also made her vulnerable. She had trusted fully. She had believed every promise. And while she did not regret love,